Sometimes the very biggest names in the entire league sneak into the trade conversation when nobody is looking, and you genuinely have to be ready when they do. Tonight, live on the show, Shams Charania dropped something that made me sit straight up in my chair because he was talking about a genuine all-star, a former rookie of the year, a guy whose name you genuinely do not expect to hear on the trade market, and the team he ended up connecting him to was the Golden State Warriors. So stay with me, Warriors fans, because this could genuinely be the second offensive engine Stephen Curry has needed for years and years. The kind of dynamic young star who gives the Bay one last real shot at a title. Here's exactly what Shams said tonight, cutting right through the noise. According to sources, the Charlotte Hornets are genuinely open to a LaMelo Ball trade right now, and multiple teams are strongly pursuing him at this very moment, with the Hornets actively engaged in those conversations. The Warriors, who have spent years and years now desperately searching for a true second creator to play alongside Stephen Curry, are exactly the kind of franchise positioned to monitor a situation like this very, very closely. LaMelo Ball, in a Warriors uniform, lined up on the floor playing next to Stephen Curry. Read that line again slowly, because if you understand why he could suddenly be available, and you understand what this Warriors roster has been missing for years, you understand precisely why this could be one of the most significant and exciting moves of the entire offseason. And I am here to walk you through step by step exactly why a player of this exact caliber might even be on the market, because it's a genuinely fascinating situation that's developing in real time. Now, I already know exactly what some of you are going to bring up right away, the apron and the price and the injury history, and we are going to get to every single bit of it, I promise, because I always give you the honest version. But stay with me through this one, because pairing a young, electrifying all-star creator with Stephen Curry is exactly the kind of move that wins championships. Let me start with why LaMelo Ball is even available, because this is the part that makes it so fascinating. For years and years now, LaMelo Ball has been the centerpiece of the Hornets, the face of the franchise, the player they built everything around from the moment he arrived. But the Hornets have not been able to turn all of that talent into winning, and the front office now appears genuinely ready to consider a real reset. Reporting says the Hornets are not just passively listening, they are actively engaged in real trade conversations, with multiple teams strongly pursuing him right now. That right there is a genuinely enormous shift in this market. When the team that drafted a young star and built around him for years and years finally signals it might be ready to move on, every contender in the league has to take that call. And LaMelo Ball isn't just any random star, he's an electrifying, ball-dominant, all-star level playmaker who can put up huge numbers in a hurry and make the highlight of the entire night on any given possession. So what you've got, in short, is a genuine all-star talent, squarely in his prime, on a team that is now openly engaged in actually moving him. That combination is exactly how a player this good becomes available. That right there is the crack in the door, and it is wide, undeniably open. And let me underline just how real this new era of player movement is, because it's the whole foundation here. Think about what we have already witnessed in this offseason alone. A two-time most valuable player from a different team, a player his entire franchise had publicly sworn was completely untouchable, was traded in a stunning blockbuster across the league. A star all-pro wide receiver in the NFL was dealt to a brand new home. Star players whose names you genuinely never expected to hear in trade conversations have changed teams one after another. The old certainties about who can and absolutely can't be traded in this league are now dead. And in this very specific case, the Hornets themselves have signaled they are now ready to listen, openly engaged with multiple teams across the league. So when someone tells you a star this young, this gifted, can't actually move, the honest answer is, that is exactly what people said about every other untouchable name on the list, right up until the moment they were gone. The door is open, the market is real and active, and the only question now is who is bold enough to actually walk through it. So now let me tell you exactly who LaMelo Ball is, in case anyone has somehow forgotten, because this is the part that should get you out of your seat. LaMelo Ball is very simply one of the most uniquely gifted offensive guards in the entire NBA. He was the Rookie of the Year. He has been a real NBA All-Star. He's a dazzling, creative ball handler who can put on a real show every single night. A 6'7" point guard with the size, the vision, and the flair to do things almost nobody else in the entire league can do. He's a fearless three-point shooter with serious deep range, a brilliant passer who throws full-court lasers and around-the-back dimes that other guards simply can't see, and a scorer who has put up huge numbers in stretches and lit up arenas every time he steps on the floor. He plays the game with genuine, infectious joy, with real style, and with a level of skill that makes him one of the most exciting young guards anywhere in basketball today. He's young, he's still ascending, and the prime of his career is right in front of him. Acquiring a player like this isn't just adding a piece, it's adding the kind of secondary star who can take your offense to a completely different level. And let me put his greatness in perspective, because the resume tells you why this matters so much. Rookie of the Year, NBA All-Star, the youngest player in league history to put up a triple-double early in his career. He's a guard with the size and the vision of a forward and the shooting touch of a sniper. The rare 6'7" point guard who can see over the entire defense and throw passes that almost nobody else can see, let alone deliver. He has dropped 50 points more than once in his career. He has hit deep, transition threes that turn entire arenas upside down. When he's healthy and on, he is genuinely one of the most exciting offensive players to watch in the entire league. The kind of player who can take over a quarter and change the energy of a building. That combination of size, skill, vision, and youth is so rare that the teams that have it never let it go. So the mere fact that a player of this exact profile is being discussed on the market at all is the entire reason this is such an enormous story. So now let's talk about why this fits the Warriors so perfectly, because it solves the single biggest problem this team has had for years. Here's the situation in Golden State right now. We are in the absolute final act of one of the greatest dynasties in NBA history. Stephen Curry is still magnificent on the floor, but the clock on his prime is genuinely loud now, and the Warriors are coming off a season where they were closer to a play-in team than a real legitimate contender. And the one thing this roster has lacked for the entire back half of the Curry era is a genuine second offensive engine, a true co-creator who can run the show when Curry rests, generate his own offense, and be a real number two when the playoffs slow everything down. Curry has genuinely needed a co-star to chase one more ring before it's all over. And LaMelo Ball, an electrifying young all-star with size, vision, and elite shooting, fits that exact need. Just imagine for 1 second pairing the greatest shooter of all time with a 6'7" ball handler who can pass and shoot at a genuinely elite level on the very same possession. Just imagine the absolute spacing nightmare this would create for an opposing defense. Two genuine deep threats on the floor at the same time who also create for everyone else around them. Just imagine the entire Warriors offense literally never slowing down even for a single second when Curry rests on the bench, because LaMelo Ball is there to run it with real style and creativity. And LaMelo is still young, which crucially means he could also be the bridge piece that gives the Warriors a real future even after Curry eventually walks away. For a team rapidly running out of time with an all-time great and desperate for a long-term answer at second creator, this is exactly the kind of bold swing that makes complete sense. So now let's talk about how this would actually work in practice, because for the Warriors, this is the complicated part. The Warriors are jammed right up against the aprons with very limited financial flexibility right now, and reporting strongly suggests that to make any kind of major star trade, they'd almost certainly have to move Jimmy Butler's expiring contract as the primary salary match in any deal. That means the Warriors would have to be willing to part with a key veteran piece while he's still in the middle of rehabbing his torn ACL, plus real draft assets on top just to land LaMelo Ball. It's a complicated, genuinely painful trade to construct, no question about it whatsoever, but the Warriors have shown time and time again over the years that they will get aggressive and creative when they truly believe their window is still open, and pairing a young all-star creator with Stephen Curry is exactly the kind of championship or bust swing they exist to make. When the prize on the table is a true second engine right next to Curry, the sheer degree of difficulty doesn't scare a team like this for a second. It only motivates them, but I told you up front I'd be honest with you, so let's take the doubts head on now, because on this one, they are very real. The first big objection here is the money and the apron. Fitting LaMelo Ball's significant salary while also navigating the strict new apron rules would be extremely difficult, almost certainly requiring the Warriors to move Butler and significant other rotation pieces. That honestly is the biggest single hurdle here, no question about it, but difficult is not impossible, and the Warriors have found creative ways to add stars before. When the prize is a true co-creator for Curry's final window, the difficulty should motivate you, not stop you in your tracks. The second objection is the health history, which is honestly the most legitimate basketball concern of all. LaMelo Ball has had a real, well-documented history of injuries, particularly to his ankles, that has limited his availability in important stretches of recent seasons. For a team taking a huge financial swing, betting on a player whose health hasn't always been there over the years is a very real, genuine risk. The honest counter is that on a deep team where he doesn't have to carry an enormous load every night, his durability could potentially hold up better over time, but it's a genuine flag. The third objection is the on-court fit and the defense, since LaMelo is primarily an offensive player and the Warriors already have defensive questions to solve. Fair, but LaMelo's size at a full 6'7" gives him real positional versatility. His offensive impact on this roster would be absolutely enormous from day one, and a smart, creative system can hide and support a star creator on the defensive end. The trade-off is more than worth it when the offensive ceiling is this high. So let me tell you where my head is at, and then I've got one final thought that I think is the real key to all of this. If the Warriors actually manage to pull this off, they finally give Stephen Curry the second creator he's needed for years to chase one more title, and they do it by landing a young, electrifying all-star who could also be the bridge piece for the franchise's future after Curry. Just picture it for a second. Curry and LaMelo on the floor together, two deep-range gunners with elite vision, the offense flowing in ways defenses have never seen, both stars stretching the floor and creating for each other every single possession. Whether it actually wins a title comes down to the health and the on-court fit between the two stars, and that's the real, honest debate. But the ceiling of a Curry-LaMelo pairing is a genuine, legitimate championship, and for a franchise that owes Stephen Curry everything, that is a swing absolutely worth taking. And here's the thought I want to leave you with, the part almost nobody is connecting. The single rarest opportunity in all of basketball is the chance to add a young, ascending all-star creator in his absolute prime when one suddenly becomes available. Those players almost never ever become available because the teams that have them simply never let them go for any price. But every so often, a franchise that has failed to turn all of that young talent into actual winning finally decides to reset the entire situation, and a door that was welded shut for years cracks open just enough. That is exactly what is happening with LaMelo Ball right now in real time. And the Warriors, with a rapidly closing championship window and a desperate years-long need for a second creator next to Curry, are exactly the kind of team that should be sprinting to take advantage of this. When a true, genuine all-star might come loose on the market and you're a team rapidly running out of time with an all-time great, you absolutely find out the price. And the opportunity right now is sitting right there for the taking. So let me boil it all the way down for you because I want this crystal clear. A franchise in the final act of an all-time dynasty coming off a missed playoffs with a years-long gaping hole at second creator next to Curry. An electrifying young all-star in his prime suddenly genuinely on the market with the exact size, shooting, and playmaking to be the second engine this team has searched for. The honest obstacles are the apron, the cost of moving Butler, and a real injury history. But how many times have the Warriors wished a true co-creator would fall into their lap? Well, now one actually might, and the only real question is whether they're bold and creative enough to go get him. I'm not telling you it's signed. I have no reporting that says the ink is dry, and I am never going to make something up for you, because the only reason you keep coming back to me is that I shoot you straight, even when the honest version includes very real concerns about the apron, the cost of moving Butler, and the health history. Those concerns are absolutely real, and this would honestly be a hard, complicated deal to actually pull off. But I am telling you, the talent is genuinely real. The fit next to Stephen Curry is spectacular, and a true all-star creator in his prime is the rarest kind of co-star you can possibly add. And tonight, live on national television, Shams Charania put the Warriors right into that conversation. You stack all of that up, the talent and the fit, and the fact that a genuine all-star is on the market. And even with all the financial hurdles, you simply can't help but want them to find a way to get it done, can you? So here's what I need from you tonight. Keep your phone close over the next few weeks, because once a star of this exact magnitude is genuinely in play and multiple teams are circling, a deal can come together incredibly fast. Remember exactly where you were when you heard this, because if it happens, you are going to want to remember the night the Warriors landed Curry's last superstar running mate. And tell me down below, honestly, do you do it? If you're the Warriors, do you move Butler and the assets and navigate the apron to pair an all-star creator with Curry for one last run? Or do you decide the health and the cost are too much? Because somewhere in the Bay Area tonight, a Warriors front office that owes everything to Stephen Curry is staring at a real chance to land the co-creator it has been chasing for years and years. And somewhere in Charlotte tonight, a Hornets team that has finally decided to listen is sitting back and waiting patiently to see exactly who comes calling with the boldest offer.